never been long for this world. Never robust, never able to keep up and play with her or Owen. She and Owen always had to backtrack for him. For all that he had tried, Brand had always been more ghost than man. Now the title belonged to Jamie, taciturn and aggravatingly proper James. Always looking down at Owen, always making certain Owen never forgot he was a mere half-brother. Always looking down at her, a mere vicar's daughter. Unbidden, the memory flashed of Jamie happening upon Brand and Owen saddling mounts in the Winningham stable for an afternoon ride. She had stood alongside them, dancing in place, beyond excited. They promised to let her ride their new thoroughbred. "Really, Brand, your father's heir. You should know better than to consort with a girl of her ilk. I would expect such lack of judgment from Owen, but not you." She did not give Owen the chance to defend her before she sent a dried clod of manure smacking Jamie in the middle of the face. A wholly reckless thing to do. Even if she was only a child of tender years, she was the vicar's daughter. She should have known better. She should have regretted her actions and apologised immediately. But of course she had not. Instead, she'd planted her hands on her hips and thrust out her chin. "There's more where that came from, you stodgy prig." Jamie had brushed the filth from his face and looked down his arrogant nose at her. Only 3 years her senior, he towered over her. "And I believe that only proves my point, and how very ill-suited you are to keep company with my brothers." The rejoinder had hit its mark. It stung, even now. She should have behaved better, and shown just how dignified and gracious she could be. That it wasn't a trait reserved to the aristocracy as he seemed to think. Now that haughty peacock was home, while Brand was dead, and Owen was left fighting in a rebellion across the ocean. It was vastly unfair. She flexed her hands around the handle of her basket and knocked on the heavy front door. Mr. Jarvis, the ancient butler, promptly answered. "Miss Ellsworth," he greeted very properly, eyeing the length of her. His eyes brightened when they landed on the basket, and she had no doubt he would filch one of her infamous biscuits from within before it ever made it to the Earl's hands. "Hello, Mr. Jarvis. Is Lord Winningham receiving?" "He's not in at present." He paused, his gaze still fixed on her basket. "Shall I take your parcel? I'll see he gets it upon his return." Her heart skipped with delight as she quickly passed the basket into the butler's hands. "Would you be so kind, Mr. Jarvis?" She was cowardly, she knew, but she would not have to face him after all, and feign happiness at his return. Relief coursed through her. She could rest easy and face her father having done her duty. Jarvis nodded. "Quite so. Thank you, Miss Ellsworth. I'll see the basket is returned." With a hasty wave and murmured thanks, she descended the wide front steps, her gaze skittering left and right, as though the Earl himself might appear and put a stop to her retreat. With every step that distanced her from the estate, her breathing eased as the tension ebbed from her shoulders. At the crest of the hill, she paused beside the old oak and looked back, her hand curling into the rough bark as she stared at the sprawling manse that reeked of wealth and privilege. Tears sprang to her eyes at the thought of Owen. He deserved to return home just as much as James did. Please, let him be well, safe, alive and whole. Again she was struck with the unfairness of it all. Jamie had returned, but Owen remained in India, fighting for his life while servants waited hand and foot on his wretched brother. She read the papers. She knew of the atrocities being played out abroad. Civilians were not spared. She could not fathom how dangerous it was for a soldier. Swiping at her eyes, she edged back a step, eager to be gone from the house that filled her with such sombre thoughts. Whenever she grew morose, she penned Owen a missive. Whether her letters actually reached him was doubtful, she knew. Or at least she surmised as much, given he had ceased to correspond back to her. She had received only 3 letters in the beginning, years ago. Since then, nothing. And yet she still wrote him, telling herself that if he received even a fraction of them, she could be offering him much-needed comfort. Sniffing back threatening tears, she nodded decisively. Fully intending to return home and write him a new letter, she spun around and smacked into a wall. Hard. She staggered. Strong hands steadied her, singeing her through the sleeves of her cloak and dress.